Doyle's tales of dark fantasy and science fiction illustrate an important and largely overlooked side of his character underneath the professional exterior of a medical doctor. Scientific rationality and methods of investigation lurked someone who basically wanted to explore the mysteries that lie outside or beyond the boundaries of the known. These stories showcase the darker side of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's vision and show his concerns that are not evident in the rest of his literary work. For example, The Captain of the Pole Star. This is in 1883. The first of his dark fantasy stories dealing with sexual obsession. This story is one of 4 tales that explore the netherworld between life and death. These stories often end in madness and the main character's demise. Now, the main character in Polestar, Nicholas Craig, is the captain of a whaling vessel known as the Polestar. He's a strange, solitary man, dominated to the point of insanity by a singular fixation, his love for his dead fiancée. Now, the characters in these 4 stories, Sorsa from The Ring of Thoth, 1890, Organoff, the man in the story, the man from Archangel, 1888, and Coles from the story John Barrington Coles, 1886, spring directly from the other dark romantic heroes of the 19th century Gothic tradition. These men are haunted by their sexual obsession and attempt to overturn the natural order by crossing the barrier between life and death in order to retrieve their lovers from beyond the grave. Now, as all of these romantic Gothic characters often do, Doyle's heroes die when they are consumed by their own sexual obsession. All right, let's get back to the Polestar. Now, Craig's dead lover is a siren-like figure, visible to no one except the captain. Now, she calls and beckons him and draws the ship that he commands deeper and deeper into the ice floes and treacherous waters of the Arctic winter. Finally, the captain has to keep his long-awaited tryst in a grand finale that's influenced by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The captain jumps off the boat and runs across the ice and disappears. The captain's passion transcends the barrier of death itself. For when the crew members find his frozen body, they see the shape of a woman fashioned out of ice crystals, bending over his corpse, trying to kiss him. All right. The dead captain has a bright smile on his frozen lips. His hands are outstretched as though to grasp and hold his spectral lover. Now, Sorsa, in The Ring of Thoth, is reunited with his mummified Egyptian princess lover, Atma, in death. He also finds contentment in death. The close embrace of these 2 dead lovers is separated only with the utmost difficulty. They can't separate them. It's very hard. All right. The man from Archangel, the character Organoff, is discovered the morning after a fierce storm with a big smile on his face. Organoff is joyful. He's happy as he dies in the arms of his dead lover. Doyle is in fact sympathetic with obsessional passion or love. Now, even more terrifying is a story known as John Barrington Coles. This is 1886. This shows what happens when the siren lover becomes a vampire-like creature that luxuriates in her ability to destroy men. The character is Kate Northcoft, a woman who has many lovers, is extremely beautiful, compelling, and sadistic. She often carries a heavy dog whip. Now, in spite of her obvious cruelty, Coles cannot stop loving her. He is helpless. He cannot stand up to her. And his desire to escape crumbles in the face of her desire and determination to possess him. She calls to him one dark night, and he runs to embrace her and falls over the edge of a cliff to his death. There's no reunion in the afterlife in this story. Now, Doyle demonstrates the voluptuous appeal of the loss of all control, overtly sexual, sensuous passivity in the face of feminine demands. Doyle mingles attraction and terror at the notion of female sexual dominance. The males are passive victims over a powerful and sometimes evil female sexuality. Now, Doyle's later tales, like Jekyll and Hyde, these characters are divided within themselves. Miss Warrender, in the story Uncle Jeremy's Household, this is 1887. Miss Warrender, is the daughter of an Anglo-Asian marriage, raised in a remote part of India. Miss Warrender has been since childhood an intimate of a secret society of killers. As an adult, she has reverted to her English heritage, and is employed as a much-loved governess of 3 English children. However, in a test of her commitment to the Society of Killers, she murders one of the children. Now, in this tale, Miss Ingeniation is the real victim, the real villain in the story. Her evil is cultural, triggered by the deep conflict between her two selves. Another divided protagonist, this time a male one, is found in a pastoral horror. This is 1890. This story is set in an idyllic alpine village. Nature itself, the wind, pine trees, clean air, the towering Alps, acts as a contrast to the evil that has manifested in the village. There's a series of random, senseless murders, apparently the work of an unknown madman. It suddenly strikes the community. Now, the only clue to the identity of the killer is a series of gouges or gashes left on his arm by the nails of one of his intended victims. Now, the denouncement comes when the narrator, who has become friends with the intelligent, sophisticated priest of the village, tells how the priest, raising his arms to bless his parishioners, shows the assembled congregation the imprint of his livid scars upon his wrist. Now, the priest suffers from a homicidal mania and is ultimately not responsible for his actions. In another terrifying tale, Doyle creates an ordinary man living in suburban London who is responsible for his vicious actions. This story is the retirement of Signor Lambert. This is 1898. This story depicts a man obsessed with the outward appearance of things. He believes what he sees, no matter what the meaning of it is. Now, Sir William Spanner is a strong-willed, cold, possessive man with a young and pretty wife. When his wife appears to be overly affectionate and warms up to an emotional Italian tenor, Spanner plots a grisly revenge. He studies with a throat doctor. He's very, very methodical. He waits his time. He studies with this throat doctor and then gains admittance to Lambert's home. He chloroforms Lambert and severs his vocal cords. The Italian tenor will never sing again. Now, this tale is terrifying because Spanner might live next door to any one of us. He's an ordinary man. The nature of his jealousy, the full consciousness of his horrendous act, basically delineates him as the modern suburban nightmare of evil. Doyle often used terrifying elements in his detective stories. For example, the dog in The Hound of the Baskervilles, but in a rational way, where all the mysteries can be explained. He also wrote many tales of terror, horror, dark fantasy, in which the world is not rational, and the mysteries of the universe cannot be explained, and the supernatural reigned supreme. Now, Doyle was very versatile in his literary work. It's very difficult in so short a time to describe the various sides of Doyle's literary genius. ACD hovers between the darkness of horror and fantasy and light science fiction. For example, The Parasite, a story from 1895, the leeching of human vital energy. Essentially, the parasite is a telepathic vampire in this story. The will of the victim becomes usurped. This is metaphorical for demonic possession and mind control. We have the great Kind Plants experiment. This is 1890.